You're listening to Leadership Recalibrated, where we dismantle outdated leadership playbooks and explore the new way to lead. I'm Lori Lalonde, founder of Her Executive Ascent, and I created this podcast because I was tired of hearing the same recycled advice about what it takes to be a good leader. You know the scripts: be more confident, lean in, develop executive presence. But what if those scripts were written for a leadership model that no longer works? What if the future of leadership looks less like commanding authority and more like strategic influence, emotional intelligence, and authentic power? Each week, we take on the questions most leadership programs avoid, the power dynamics nobody teaches, and the decisions that actually shape your career. This is where you stop following the old rules and start designing the leadership career that fits who you are now and where you're going next. Let's recalibrate. Welcome to Leadership Recalibrated, a leadership insight series by Her Executive Ascent. I'm Lori Lalonde, CEO and founder of Her Executive Ascent. Business transformation is everywhere right now. Every company has a plan, a roadmap, a set of initiatives designed to take them from where they are to where they need to be. And most of them are failing, not because the strategy is wrong, but because they forgot about the people carrying it. Today's guest built her career at some of the most rigorous organizations in the world. She started with an internship at McKinsey, where she learned what it means to be obsessive about the details that everyone else ignores. Then she took that foundation into roles at Cisco, Hitachi, and beyond, until she realized that what she cared about most was not showing up in the work she was being asked to do. Jessica Caresse White is the founder of her own consulting practice. And what separates her from every other transformation consultant in the room is that she is just as committed to transforming the hearts and minds of the people doing the work as she is to the strategy driving it. She is also a podcast host and a woman who has spent her career championing the people who did not fit the mold, making sure their value got seen when the system around them could not. She never adopted the old corporate playbook. And in this conversation, she is going to tell you exactly why that was the right call. Let's get into it. Hi, Jessica. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Lori. Thank you so much for having me.
I've been looking forward to this talk. And before we got on, I've been saying to Jessica and for everyone, we are cursed. Every time we try to get together or have a call, the universe ruins it in some way, shape, or form. So we had some technical issues. We got that sorted out now. So we're going to use this time effectively and just get into what we're going to talk to today. So, Jessica, I'd love to first start off hearing your story. So, you've had this incredible career and you've worked at some notable companies. So, Cisco, Hitachi, McKinsey and Company. How did that journey unfold and how did you end up where you are at today?
Lori, that's a really great question because I was thinking about that like the other day in the shower. And I've always had tried to have some type of plan for my life. So initially, like I was initially pre-med and I did all the prerequisites, everything. I applied to my school. But as I was starting to get interview requests, I was like, I don't want to do this. And so I quickly pivoted, took my GMAT, and then I went to FIU down here in Florida for my master's in finance. So my plan was to be an investment banker and to be one of those top-notch finance bros, like that was my goal. Or I couldn't get a banking job to save my life. Like I could not break into banking. But ironically though, like in my master's program, that's where I learned about management consulting and that's when I got my first internship with McKinsey. And then it was just a journey of just getting exposed to so much that I didn't even know existed. I grew up in Baltimore in a really sheltered environment. I'm the first person in my family to go down the business track. Everybody else was in the medical field. And so working at McKinsey was something I didn't even realize how lucky I was to be able to be within that organization until after I left, actually, because when you're there, you're just in it, that's your whole world. Friends are from McKinsey, like you hang out with your office mates, like you're just in McKinsey and that's it. So then when I ventured out, that's when I realized I'm like, oh wow, there was a difference in the way how people would approach their work or even approach themselves, approach their lives that was drastically different from the people I met at McKinsey versus outside of McKinsey. And then, like all the other companies that I worked for, it was just so random. Like, oh, let me just apply here. Let me see what happens. And then I get the job. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is great.
So what was it about those jobs that enticed you away from McKinsey?
You get burnt out at McKinsey.
Ah, yeah, I
Yeah,
think you get
it's
burnt
really
out everywhere
demanding.
though. That's every company,
Yeah,
like,
you get
literally.
like yeah. No, it was incredible, but the real pivot was during COVID because everything just changed. The world was shut down, but I'm here in Florida, so my world is open. So I was itching to be out doing my thing again. So then I had left and I was actually working at this company called Costa Farms for a bit, doing their supply chain and project management. And that was interesting. I learned a lot about plants, and I was happy I was there because there is so much that goes into making a house plant.
Really?
Oh my god, it's so complicated. It is so complicated. Like, when you see those house plants at Costco,
Yeah.
it is not an easy supply chain.
Really?
It is really complicated, yeah. Just because, like, the industry is really, really rural. A lot of people don't use technology. A lot of things are on paper. And then it's also heavily affected by the minimum wage. It's also heavily affected by immigration policies.
Yeah.
And then you also have a lot of competition for people buying up land. Then you also have to fight the elements.
Yes.
Yeah, then there's the quality of the soil. Then it's like, okay, making sure your plants are mature in order to harvest them so that you can ship things out and make sure you have like your percentage yield? So there's like a lot of little factors that go into getting your house plant.
Wow, I never appreciated it before, and you know what the worst part is I will buy a house plant and within 6 months it's dead. So, I am sorry to everyone that works in supply chain that works so hard to get that plant to me because I could not keep it alive. Yeah, just
Yeah,
impossible,
yeah,
impossible.
yeah.
I really do appreciate people who have the knack for nurturing plants and can grow anything and it always comes out great. Like, my daughter's like that. She's a
Mhm,
natural, like, I don't know what you call them, a green thumb? I don't know, but she
mhm.
loves gardening, and she right now has an crazy amount of plants that have been growing that she can't
Oh,
wait to transplant outside. Like, they have to go outside, but
mhm.
we're still getting frost overnight. So right now I have this mini greenhouse inside my house till that
Oh,
happens. Yeah.
uh-huh. But it's so
But
good
yeah.
for you though. Like these plants, like some of them are better than like air purifier. Some of them can absorb mold. They are our best friends. They want to take care of us? So
Yeah.
that's how I look at plants.
Yeah. I don't think she's growing those kind of plants, but maybe they do. Like it's because she's growing like vegetables
Mm.
and herbs because she's like groceries are expensive. And so let's start a garden. And that was last year. And then it was like $1,000 later, we had this garden. And I was like, well, I don't know if I would spend $1,000 in vegetables over the next few years, but yeah, this was fun, but she's been great. It keeps her busy. She loves it. She's 30 years old, and she has just always been very interested in doing things, like, from scratch. So she knits her own sweaters. I don't know.
Mm.
She wanted me to get into knitting. I was like, "No, no way." And I wanted her to get into technology, and she was like, "No way." If you just could put her, I guess, in a cottage somewhere with just a garden and some knitting needles and some yarn, she would be, like, in her best world. Like, she would just love that, but I digress. So you went from McKinsey to these other companies.
Mhm.
And very interesting, you come from a family of medicine, but then you started with pre-med and you're like, "Now I'm gonna go into finance." How did your family take that news? Did they have their heart set on you and going into medicine, like, and following in their footsteps?
My dad did, yeah. My dad did. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, he definitely wasn't supportive of my decision because all he knew was medicine and that's the path to success. So, yeah, but I took a bet on myself because like I realized even in college, I'm like, I love my economics classes. So I was pre-med economics. Like I always
Wow.
had other, I don't know, I guess my backup plan for medical school and put some art
Wow.
classes there too. But yeah, so I was pre-med economics. I loved my economics classes. And with the pre-med classes, some were better than others. Like I loved organic chemistry, but that's because it was all like process versus like a biology, you're just like memorizing. Where with organic chemistry, you had to kind of think through like, okay, if we have this compound in this environment with this other compound, you raise the temperature by however much, what's the expected molecule as output. I don't know. For some reason, I love that. It just reminded me of arts. I'm like, okay, these electrons go here. Da, da, da. I don't know, but, like, that type of thing I
Yeah.
love. Didn't like physics. Yeah, physics was weird. And so I was like, "Ah," like, even with these prerequisites, medical school is like 10 times that. So I'm like, if this is
Wow.
how I feel with pre-med, but I love my economics classes, I need to stick to what I really like.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that you caught that and you pivoted because it's important to listen to our inner compass that tells us really the direction that we should be going in or that aligns with our interests and mission essentially. So I love that you listened to that early on. I never could have gone into medical school because I used to skip science class in high school. That was the one class I would be bored to tears in. So I would just within the first 5 minutes, I would raise my hand and say, "I need to go to the bathroom," and then I would just wouldn't come back until the end of class.
Oh my god.
So, I barely passed that one. I did not like science at all. I liked everything else but science, so kudos to you. Oh my goodness.
Oh
So
my god.
yes, this is interesting because you talk about how you're drawn to the process and really it's like the thinking behind it and that aligns with what McKinsey's known for, right? So they're known for being like exceptional at process and strategy and transformation. From your experience, what is it that they do really well?
That's hard to answer because they do the details very, very well.
Well, because they
I've
have
never
people like you. They have people like you working for them. That's why.
well, even besides that, like the senior partner, the details. Someone will analyze the spacing between little things you don't think anybody would notice.
Yes.
People at McKinsey notice. They mastered the art of detail, the little details that most people are like, that doesn't matter." Not people at McKinsey.
Oh, wow. So every little detail is accounted for. That's time spent. Wow. What do you notice that what's missing from what they do? What wasn't being addressed in that traditional transformation space or in that consulting space?
I would probably say more of like the human connection. Not everybody there. You have your wide variety range of people, but it's a company of like 40,000 people, right? They're top machine people, not so personable like that. Some, not all.
Yeah.
So on the client relationship side of things, it could be on the more shallow front. Some, not all.
Got it. I love ho I do that all the time. Every time I'm talking about something, I always have to preface it that way because we know that we get such flack from the trolls online that we're like, "Not all of us." It's like, we know. Okay, this is the experience we're having." Yeah, that's interesting because I would have thought McKinsey as being very people-centric because a lot of their research is about people.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting that you say that. And so is it just that the dynamics internally was everyone was just focused on what they were delivering or they were working on and it wasn't so that externally they could be more people focused, but internally not? Is that how it was?
I mean, I don't wanna say it like that. I don't wanna say
Okay.
it like that because, again, it's like a huge, huge company, and the people doing research are quite different than, let's say, people in the finance practice,
Yeah.
okay? It just depends. It's really
Yeah.
nuanced. Yeah, it's really, really nuanced. Certain sectors and then even, like, geography of where someone lives because, they have, like, 140 offices all over the world. Some are more personable than others. Some people are more easy to work with than others. It just literally just depend. It wasn't, like, across the board, but
Yeah.
it was a nuanced environment.
I get it. Yeah, and I've worked at a lot of, different companies, and I think that that can apply to so many different places I've worked at too. It's like you see these similar patterns in personalities and working styles and communication styles and even like interpersonal relationships at work, how that works. It's very fascinating. So you had this path of working with these companies and doing such great work with them and then you decided at some point to focus on your own company. And you mentioned that you transform not just businesses, but hearts and minds. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So when I was growing up, and the way how I grew up was nuanced as well. So my dad, yeah, he was a doctor, but he didn't live with us. And the financial situation growing up with my mom, there was 5 of us kids and, plus, like, my grandfather lived in the house, so my house was full, but we didn't have much money. So, for example, the shoes I would wear, they would get holes in them, clothes I would have. I learned how to sew so I could fix my clothes, until I was lucky enough to see my dad and we can get some new clothes, and that wasn't often. I started reading, like, self-help books when I was a teenager, like 12, 13, and so I came across a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and so, like, reading about that is basically was saying, like, for you to be, like, a sophisticated investor, you have to have your own business. I'm like, "Okay, one day I'm gonna have my own business." And then fast forward, like, yeah, I'm in my career, I'm grinding, all this stuff, da, 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 working a lot. It was just like, it catches up to you. And then on top of it, my husband, he's a concert pianist, and he went from doing private music lessons to opening up a music school. So, like, just watching him go through that process of, like, starting his own business and being able to define the values that he wants to implement and, seeing his lifestyle change, I'm like, "You know what? I'm ready to do that too." And, for me, the people that I used to mentor or, I was like their manager while I was at McKinsey, I really saw, how much I cared about particular people that didn't fit the mold. So basically, in like an environment like McKinsey or any of these other prestigious companies to work, there's a particular mold of a person that typically excels. And so, like, I would be mentoring or managing, some junior people who are coming in. And I could see what was special about them, but because they didn't fit that exterior mold of, other people, it would be looked over, and I'm like, "No," like, so then I would basically, like, take them underneath my wing, teach them everything that I knew, make sure that I saw that they were successful, and where they are today, end up at Facebook or other really prestigious places to work, and so I'm like, "Okay, I know I have something there." And then, about a couple years ago, I went through, like, a crazy deep spiritual, personal transformation within myself, and then saw even more the importance of those values that I was basically practicing myself. And I'm like, oh, there is something to what I was doing. And so even like all my current client engagements, I still have that care. Like, I really, really care about people. And I do whatever I can to make sure they don't feel like a heavy burden or anything like that, especially because with work, this is what you're doing every single day. And so that's why I really value and wanted to build an environment where it matters about your heart more than how you look, type of thing, and really nurture that and create an environment for people to actually thrive. So it's like, respect, honesty. We're not operating from ego, right? We're operating from curiosity and wanting to help people. Coming from a place like McKinsey, it's like they have a uniformed way of thinking, but it's kind of like a cult a little bit.
I think every corporation is like a cult, to be honest.
Yeah, great experience, but, there are certain things where it's like placing a lot of emphasis on that
Yeah.
versus, something else. So, that was the intention that I had with wanting to go off on my own, and that's also what I'm seeing as I'm continuing to build up my practice.
That resonates because I had a similar, I guess, epiphany in the tech career that I've had. I was always the outlier. Like in the beginning, very rarely you'd have women on teams, and I was usually one of or one of two. But yes, that putting the people at the center and identifying and nurturing the different things that they bring to the table. It's not about assimilating and making everybody conform to one way because that's not really a great way to grow a business or to be innovative even. So when
Mhm.
someone works with you or when a company comes to you and they want to bring you in, walk me through what does that look like? What are you doing with the company, with the stakeholders, the teams?
Yeah, I would say I leverage a lot of the same fundamentals. You have your questions just to understand the current situation that people are dealing with. And then depending on where we are, like if it's pre-engagement start or post-engagement start, more of the pre-engagement start is just like really trying to get a feel and sense of like, okay, are the words that you're saying match like how I see your body language or any other subtle cues? Like, is this really the main problem or are there other things going on? And so kind of take like a a little bit a little bit of a snapshot of like, okay, this is probably what this person needs. And then after, let's say we sign the contract and move forward, because basically I use those questions and the discovery of like, okay, this is what we're going to do, but there's probably X, Y, and Z after that that needs to be addressed. But we're going to focus on this first phase, so kind of hand holding and being really intentional and make people feel like they're part of the process, that their ideas matter too, and kind of validating, ideas and figuring out a way of implementing those ideas. And so then after we sign the contracts and I'm actually in the engagement with them, I leverage one-on-one meetings like no tomorrow outside of just the regular stand-up engagement meetings to get to know the different stakeholders a bit better on the more personal level. And the conversations can range from work or it can range to personal things because over time people start discovering my podcast and some of the things that I talk about. And so then that's when they'll start raising like, more personal things. And then that's where I'm able to help them with anything that they have going on internally.
Well, yeah, that personal connection's so important and not to be underestimated. I love that you brought that up because that's something that is part of being able to work together. We can't separate the human from work.
Mhm.
And being able to fuse that with a personal connection in some way of sharing like a, story that builds common ground, that's really fundamental. And I don't think we spend enough time on that anymore in how busy and the day to day is in corporate now. It just feels like rush, 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 go, go, go. But yeah, I agree. And I love that you're taking that approach of being very practical about having those one on ones and intentional because usually in the one on ones is when you have the space to have those discussions of, oh, what is it that, what's your podcast about? Or I heard this episode, or talking about
Mhm.
any particular topic that really starts to create that trust between the two of you, right? So you have that human to human connection. So I love that aspect of it, and I think that's so important. I think that's a part that nobody gives enough credit to or spends enough time on in corporate today. It used to be like that more back in the day when things weren't so hectic. I've always been a very social person. I was always the talker in every company I worked at, so much so that there was one point they put me in my own office, which I called the doghouse because it was really a way to keep me from talking to people, which I thought was ridiculous, right? Like absolutely ridiculous because then they would just all my friends would just come to the office and we would, like, have a party in the office.
Yeah.
So ridiculous, but yeah, I was like so it wasn't even a good thing to be given that office space, it was, like, shameful. I was in the and we called it that, we call I'm in the doghouse 'cause,
Yeah.
I talk a little too much and they just want tappy tap on the keyboard. So but I've always been that very social person, and I think that served well both in my own career, my own network, but also the whatever company I was working for, that served them, and I don't think that
Mhm.
there was enough credit given there. And women do it well. Women do it very well. And I think that's part and parcel of one of the things that teams or managers or leaders in corporate and in different companies take for granted that women tend to be the nurturers, the ones who bring people together, kind of the culture creators. And that's not recognized or given any credence, I guess, in corporate as being a promotable thing. But yeah, and I find that with business transformations, they can go wrong so epically. And it takes a lot to keep that on track. And a lot of that is the personal connection and the human connection
Mhm.
and being in lockstep with each other every step of the way. In your experience, when you see it done really well, what are the things, like, what are the key markers to say that this transformation is going in the right direction?
Mhm. Yeah, it's twofold. 1, things are documented. 2, people are talking to each other. So, well, like, when I come into an organization and things are dysfunctional, nothing's written down, no one's talking to each other. Like, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's so it sounds so simple, but that's true. It's so true, and nobody wants to document anything
No.
because it feels like such a time suck, right?
Mhm.
And then I would always get the answer of, "Well, things just change so fast here that it's impossible to keep the documentation up to date."
Yeah, but you need
So you
at least one. Like, not
right?
even one? Like, nothing to start with? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah, and the people not talking to each other too, that's wild to me because I don't understand how you can work within a team and not talk to each other.
I don't know either. But at the same time, like, Lori, I guess because, you have podcasts, I have podcasts. The way how I look at that is our minds are just like, like I was a talker too, like I would be bouncing around the office talking to people, like, oh, what's he working on? Like, oh, like just
Yeah.
just I was bored and curious, because also I work really fast. So like I'll get whatever I had done for the day. I'm like, you know what? Let me go. Well, it's 3 PM. Let's try to get a coffee. Let me go talk
Yeah.
to people, like
Oh my god, same. I love it.
But a lot of people didn't do that. They would just be at their desk, but they would be so happy to talk to me. But like they weren't, I don't know, we're just all different. But
Yeah.
like so then that like people that just sit at their desk, they're not the ones to be like, "Oh, I wonder what this team does when I give them this report." Or I wonder like how does this even get to me like this? So
Yeah.
that's why people are like, "Yeah, I just send this to this person." Like, I don't know what they do. Yeah.
No, I know. I was always curious about other people's roles too and how my work impacted them. And I would talk to everybody. And in the software space, there was a time when it was like the development team and the QA team were enemies, and they didn't
What?
talk to they hated each other. There was
How?
a time and, like, the literally development would throw it over the fence essentially to the QA team and go, "Oh, I bet they're gonna find this and this and this," and I would just go over to the QA team and be like, "Hey, guys, like, oh, yeah, you tell me when you find something wrong. I wanna make sure I got everything covered," and, like, I I genuinely just made friends with everybody, but there was a time where the devs would just constantly complain about QA, and I'm like, "They're making sure that our mistakes aren't being felt by our customers. Why is that a bad thing?" Like, what the
Yeah.
hell? And eventually, I think that it came to the point where Agile came into play, and now it
Mm.
becomes like you're all on the same team, and eventually, I
Okay.
think the industry caught up with me, which I think I'm a trendsetter. So I feel like I really led the way, even though nobody knows who I am on that front. But I was the same way. And I think if we worked at the same company together, eventually they would have done it where you would have been on one floor and I would have been on
Yeah,
another floor
we
and we
wouldn't have
wouldn't
been
have had
allowed to hang
access
out.
to get to the
No,
other floor. Like
no.
that would have been revoked because we would have collectively caused some good trouble in those companies.
Oh my god, yeah, 100%, 100%, like, yeah, I think when I slowly started to work from home, I knew people would get more work done
Yeah.
because I wasn't there to distract them. But they loved it when I came into the office, though. They're like, "Oh my god, it's so great to see you, Jessica. We
Yeah.
missed you."
You're the person that brings everyone together, but you also
Yeah,
get your stuff done.
I do.
And the thing is I used to love going to the office just to see my office best friends. You know, you have your BFFs in the office,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
every day that was what I look forward to doing. Like, I can't wait to see so and
Mhm.
so, see what happened, like hear the gossip about whatever.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
and work still got done. I think it got done even better because we just connected and we
Mhm.
knew how to work well together. We just were in sync with everything. We weren't fighting with each other.
No.
And we just understood each other at a deeper level that enabled the team dynamic to feel much stronger. So I love it. I love that you decided, you know what, I'm just going to go turn this into my own company and bring this kind of awesomeness to every corporation because they need it.
Yeah, they
Absolutely,
do.
especially now, right? Think right now every company needs, a Jessica to come in because everybody, and this is something I've
So
seen
true.
across the board, regardless of organization, everybody's sicker than they've
They are.
ever been at any other time in history in corporate. Every corporate worker is as unhealthy as they'll ever be right now.
Yeah.
They're burnt out, they're disengaged, they're demoralized, they're
Mhm.
stressed, they're not sleeping, they're not eating well. I mean, it's very few people that I see that are actually like thriving in
Yeah,
corporate.
yeah,
And that is, I think we should call it an epidemic right now. It really is.
yeah.
Because back in the day, I remember seeing the C-levels or the leaders, they're just
Mm.
bopping around the office. They're like, "Yeah, I just came from the gym," and they're, like, so happy, and they're healthy, and they're eating well, and everyone's happy, and everyone's healthy. Not that everyone was eating well all the time, but, I mean, just people
No,
felt
but people are
healthier and
happier.
happier,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
here we are, and I've been in the industry for 30 years, and since the pandemic is when I noticed it. It
Yeah.
could have been happening before, but that's when I really noticed it
I
is
think it sped up during the pandemic.
yes.
Yeah.
And right now, it's the care and concern for people's health and well-being is at an all-time low from a organizational standpoint,
Yeah.
and we really need a shift, right? So, yeah, business transformation, important, but
Uh,
that transformation work needs people to be at their healthiest
yeah.
and at their happiest
Yeah.
because that's when their brain can actually function in a way that can carry that transformation forward. So,
Yeah.
what do you do when you see that a team that is really fully depleted? You're there to help them through their transformation, but they are depleted.
Yep. Yeah, I'll give a perfect example. I think this is when I was at Hitachi, and I was given a project that had two other project managers before me, and they didn't work out. I was the third project manager on that project. The team I inherited was exactly what you were talking about. Like, they were burnt down to the ground, and we had a lot more work to go. So I did what I do best. I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to have a weekly venting meeting where we can just come together and talk crap. They
Love me
loved
a good
it.
vent sesh. Yeah,
Yeah, they loved it. They had a place to just release energy. And then on top of it, the teams that weren't so cohesive anymore, it was like clicked in their head, like, oh, yeah, you're drowning too. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we are on the same team. Even the client, like the product manager I had to work with, she had a reputation. And yeah, she did try me, but I kept my receipts. I'm a very organized person. I double, triple check what you need from me to make sure I give you exactly what you're looking for. She tried me when she realized I don't play. I'm very
love
personable,
it.
I will smile, but I don't play about my work, you know what I mean? And so then
Yeah,
even she came around to respect me too. So basically, it's like I come in, I basically create space for the team. I'll take the hit from people. I don't care, Growing up in Baltimore, there's not a lot of things that can affect me in corporate. So, just basically being like a shield for the team, giving them space, and then also identifying why they're burnt down to the ground. And it's because the meeting structures made absolutely no sense. I will come in and change it. I will talk to whoever I need to talk to. This is what we're doing. The little stuff you guys been doing for the past year isn't working. So we're going to try something new, see how that goes. Usually it goes really well. And then we have our light at the end of the tunnel because people don't see that when they're burned down, run down, they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because there's nothing documented. There's no requirements anywhere. Thousands
yeah.
of user stories for what reason?
What Jessica just described, teams that are burnt down to the ground, people who cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel, leaders who are running out of runway. That is the reality in most organizations right now, and it is not getting better on its own. This is exactly what we work through inside the 12-week AI enabled executive decision leadership lab at Her Executive Ascent. Because when you are depleted, you cannot lead. And when you cannot lead, your team cannot perform. The program is built to give women in leadership the skills, the clarity, and the structure to show up differently for themselves and for the people counting on them. If that is where you are right now, visit herexecutiveascent.com to learn more. Now back to Jessica.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I come in and I bring in the structure and I get them the information they need and I get them on a rhythm as well, like, okay, all right, so they trust me and they know that I'll take care of them. And so that gives them motivation and inspiration.
I love that. And yeah, that's how you get people to really feel like they want to be involved. They want to give their best work when they have that space of they're building this team culture. Like you're actually building a team culture with these rituals by giving them event session, by giving them milestones to hit, by telling them, yes, this is the vision for the end goal. And even that, it sounds so simple in practice, but it's not happening right now on so many teams because of how busy things are and with AI speeding everything up even faster and making people fear for their jobs, there's this new kind of stress in that. And so do you have companies right now coming to you and saying, "I want you to come in and tell me how we can automate out all these people. That's our business transformation."
Oh, no, no, I haven't personally experienced that.
So if a company does come to you and says that, would you tell them?
I would say that's a terrible idea.
Agreed. It is a terrible idea. What would you say to convince them?
Everything will break.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, everything will break. If you don't have people managing these automations or managing the agents, it will break because things are constantly being updated and changed all the time. You
Yeah.
can't automate someone's job 100% without someone being there. Like, that's a
Yeah.
terrible idea. But companies are realizing that now. Like, the ones who did replace a lot of jobs with AI, they're like, "Oh, we need to hire people back," but you're not seeing that on the headlines.
Yeah, I know, right? Or AI's costing more than a human, so uh-oh, whoopsies. Have you seen this article? And I just read it recently about a court in China that ruled in favor of an employee he was initially demoted because AI replaced his job or was taking over most of his job. And then they gave him a demotion and a pay decrease, and he sued. And the courts ruled in his favor, saying that a company cannot use AI as an excuse to fire someone or demote them. And I thought, I love that they actually had a case and they're setting a precedent like that. And we need that here because too many of the big tech billionaires are getting a little too comfortable putting the message out that people just should be open and accept the possibility that there will be no jobs for them. And this is the time to nip that in the bud because we know that, first of all, that's not going to be even a remote possibility. Jobs will change, just like with any transformation, jobs will change, but you will still need people. And so, this notion of don't worry, just know that you're going to have universal income and you don't have to worry about work or we'll take care of you. We've seen what happens when we put our trust in even governments to take care of us, not doing a good job. So I'd love to see things like that happen in the West here, where we start challenging these notions of, it's okay to let people go, especially en masse with the promise of AI or because of this. It's like,
Yeah.
absolutely not. We need intervention here. And I don't feel like we're getting it fast enough.
Yeah. Well, I actually wanted to mention this earlier because it's kind of like a similar point that you had brought up about like the behavior of the companies, the burnout, the rate of all these things. Like with the pandemic, a lot of companies saw all this extra money just coming in and they overinvested.
Yeah.
Again, you don't have headlines about, "Oh, all these companies overinvested."
Yeah.
Then in 2023, that correction started to happen, and that's when you started to see layoffs, but you just saw layoffs. You didn't see why people were being laid off because they made a mistake in 2021, 2022, too much money at the wrong things. Also, post-pandemic, things didn't recover like people were planning. And so now I think it's just a narrative that a lot of these tech people are pushing, like, "Oh, yeah, AI is gonna take over job." No, like, you guys made mistakes. You guys
Mhm.
made mistakes, and then now you're gonna lose a lot of subscribers to your services because now people can build their own things. So now you're just saying they own like, these tech companies, they own the headlines, they own the media, so of course, it's just gonna say those type of things, but in reality, like, they're at risk.
Yeah,
They're at risk for
absolutely.
people not needing them so much anymore.
Yeah. Well, that'll be so glorious. I would love to see the day that that happens because I'm not a big fan of some of the big tech companies and what they've been doing. So I'd love to see that. But time goes fast. We are getting close to the end of time. So before we wrap up, I want to ask you the one question I like to end the episode with. Based on everything you've experienced at McKinsey, at other corporations that you've worked at, and now even running your own firm, if you could retire one rule from the old corporate playbook, what would it be and what would you replace it with?
Lori, I don't know if I ever adopted the old corporate playbook to begin with.
Love that. But for
'Cause I
people
was
that
always an outsider, like,
yeah.
like, I couldn't conform to it, so don't adopt it to begin with. I
Yeah,
think
the whole playbook, just burn it. Burn it to the ground. I agree. I was like that too. I was a troublemaker in corporate. I could never just accept the status quo. I refused. I challenged it every step of the way. And yeah, I don't feel sorry that I did that. I'm
Yeah,
pretty proud of all the stories that came out of those times when I would challenge and challenge, and a lot of the times I found, like, I wasn't just fighting the good fight for myself, it was for everybody. So
everybody.
I because it's like it impacts everybody when things aren't working for the people in a
Right.
company, and I was always the one with the big mouth. So I was happy to do it, and I continue to be happy to do it through this podcast and through my own business too. And I love meeting other women that are stirring up good trouble in the industry too, but
Yes.
it'll be for the better. It'll be
Yes.
for the better.
Yes. Yeah, man, we need to just be people. Like, we're all smart and capable. You don't have to act like a puffy, puff chest person.
Right.
Jargon. For what? What are you saying to me right now? You make no sense. You're just talking, you know?
I love it. Now, if people wanna work with you or reach out to you, how can they get connected with you?
Yeah, sure. So if you go to my website, www.jcaresse.com, JCaresse.com, I have a Calendly link on there. You can book time with me, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Jessica Caresse White, Instagram, Jessica Caresse. Yeah, I think those are the main areas, main places you can connect with me.
Fantastic, and I'll put all the links in the show notes as well as a link to your podcast. But, yeah, thank you so much for your time today, Jessica. I'm glad we got through the technical difficulties in the universe trying to stop us from connecting and having this amazing conversation.
Oh my god.
I appreciate, everything that you shared today. Fantastic.
Thank you so much, Lori. So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Nothing's written down. No one's talking to each other. Jessica said it that simply, and it is that simple. The organizations that are failing their people right now are failing for reasons that have nothing to do with how smart their people are or how good their intentions were going in. The fundamentals are broken: documentation, communication, and someone in the room who actually cares enough to fix it. That person is rare. And if you're listening to this show, there is a very good chance that person is you. The corporate playbook was not built for people like Jessica or people like the women in this audience. It was built for conformity, for jargon, for puffed up hierarchies that protect the wrong things. And one by one, we are in the business of burning it down and building something better. If this episode resonated with you, share it with one person in your network who is in the middle of a transformation that is not going the way it should. Leave a comment and tell me what landed. And if you have a minute, a review goes a long way in helping this show reach the women who need it most. You can connect with Jessica and work with her at jcaresse.com and find her on LinkedIn and Instagram at Jessica Caresse. All links are in the show notes. Thank you for listening to Leadership Recalibrated. I'll see you in the next episode. The leadership advice that got many women this far will not necessarily get them where they want to go next. This phase of your career is not about working harder. It's about working strategically by deciding which rules still apply and which ones you are finally ready to outgrow. If this conversation resonated, stay with us, subscribe to the podcast, and join me here every Sunday for new episodes. And if it gave you language for something you've been carrying quietly, share it with another woman in your network who needs to hear it too. Until next time, lead with intention, question everything, and change the rules for the better. I'm Lori Lalonde, and this is Leadership Recalibrated.